A brutal poll was released last week that has only dark clouds for President Trump. The biggest headline of many in the data is that since his presidency, his approval rating has dropped nearly 20 points, finding his net approval rating sitting at a negative 11. On every issue, he finds himself underwater. The ones that he campaigned on and arguably got him elected show red alert warnings this early in his second term. The economy, which he promised to have humming in his first 100 days, has a negative 14-point percentage rating. He's got the same failing marks when it comes to foreign policy, where he promised to have the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East solved on his first week in office. Trade, where again he promised his genius tariff negotiations would bring in unprecedented surpluses in the first 3 months, has instead sunk the confidence of the public, finding Trump at a negative 15% approval rating. Immigration of all issues, where his mass deportation promise of criminal elements has instead created daily headlines plagued by ineptness, heartlessness, and illegality, has stunningly put Trump in negative territory, 5 points below the median. Now, none of these numbers even approach the least popular issue with the president. That's his handling of the Epstein affair, which is arguably only going to get far worse as more revelations come to light. Consider all that on top of the big, beautiful bill, which is polling disastrously with more than 2 in 3 Americans believing it will hurt America before its even devastating consequences kick in, and you can see where Republicans running for re-election next year in the midterms have real reason to worry. For some historical context, at this point in a presidency, there is typically a honeymoon phase. Since 1953, when these polls were conducted, the average U.S. president has a net approval rating of plus 27. So if you do the math, Trump is stunningly 43 percentage points below his predecessors. But I'll give you one last number, and if you're a Trumper, it will either give you hope or pause. The only president who has ever polled worse at this stage of their term was, wait for it, Donald Trump in the first go-round. I think because Trump's instincts are never to adapt, but instead to double down, his approval numbers will only continue to crater as bad policies and headlines lead to even worse outcomes for Americans who took a second leap of faith with this guy last November. As they say, we shall see.